This story's about my old girlfriend, Mary Ann, who came to visit me in Vietnam. Mary Ann and I had been going out a long time and we were in love. We were going to get married and all that stuff. Well, I guess that war had other plans for us. Yeah, and Nam had a funny way of screwing with everybody's plans like that. So anyway, when Mary Ann came over, she seemed to take an unusual interest to everything that was going on, especially in the Green Berets, or Greenies as we called them. The Greenies were really strange and stayed away from the rest of the soldiers. They were on ambush some length away from our camp at that time. Well, one night, Mary Ann turned up missing, and the next morning she was back in full army gear. Turns out she had spent the night with those weirdo greenies, and none of us could believe it. Well, for the next few days, Mary Ann just got more and more into the soldier's life. Like not washing or putting on makeup, and just plain acting like she was a soldier herself. She was always going down and hanging out with those greenies too. Well, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I just kind of went along with it. But one day, she went to the Greenies' camp again and disappeared into the bush forever. Nobody saw her again. She just went mental from the war and the Greenies, those weird green berets. I guess she was just taken over by the whole aura of the war. It's very mysterious. And that's probably the weirdest story I could tell you about now. Somehow, the war just had this effect on people that would turn them into a completely different person. Mary Ann was this sweet, nice, lovely lady who always had her table manners and things like that. And she turned into this hardened war veteran and ran away into the woods, into the jungle. It was unexpected, but at the same time, it would be expected. I mean, anything happened. It could happen in that war. Yeah. One of the most vivid images that I've kept from the war would have to be the first man I killed. What it came down to was basically just a lucky grenade toss. But after I seen what happened, I was in shock. I stood there staring at this guy for what seemed like 2 hours. I made up his entire life on my mind too. I imagined that he was going to college to study math, and that he liked to write poetry, and what his family was like, and stuff like that. And I just sat there staring at him. I just couldn't believe what was happening. You never know what it feels like to kill a man until you actually do it. And I only did it once, and I'm glad I never did it again and never have to do it again. To this day, I have that image of the slim young man with one leg bent beneath him and one eye a hollow star-shaped hole embedded in my head. And I know that I'll never forget the man I killed. Well, I've got one more story that's really personal to me, because it's about my best friend Norman Boker, and I think it fits this program real well because it's pretty much a testament to how a person's Vietnam experience would stay with them the rest of their life. Well, Norman was one of the most courageous soldiers I knew in the war, and just like an all-around good guy, you know, along with most of the guys in my company over in Nam. But Norman was definitely extremely courageous, and he won a lot of medals for his courage, but it was one incident where he couldn't be courageous that would be his downfall. You see, we both had this friend in our company named Kiowa. Uh, Kiowa was a really nice and really talkative, religious Indian. He was one of those guys that was always in a good mood, and he couldn't stand it if you weren't, so he'd get you in a good mood too. Well, one rainy night, we were getting bombed pretty badly, and something caught Kiowa, and he went down in the mud. And this wasn't any ordinary mud though. This mud was like quicksand, and the worst part about it was the smell. That mud reeked more than anything I've ever smelled before. Well, just thinking about it now makes me queasy. It was just horrible. Well, when Norman tried to rescue Kiowa out of the mud field, he couldn't even get close enough to reach a stick to him. The smell was just so bad that as much as he wanted to save him, he couldn't do it. And all Norman could do was watch as his best friend sank deeper and deeper into the mud until he just disappeared. Well, after the war was over, he returned home and expected all his family and friends to be surrounding him, wanting to hear his stories and about all his medals and all the lives he saved and how he couldn't save Kiowa's life. But nobody was there. Nobody wanted to hear those stories, I guess. And he just drove around town in his pickup truck, imagining that they were sitting beside him, listening to all his stories of bravery and everything. But well, after this, Norman's life just went downhill, and he got more and more depressed. And then one day, he just couldn't bear it anymore, and he hung himself. I like to tell this story because I know Norman used to like to tell stories himself back in the war, and I really miss him, but I think it's good to keep his memory alive and to keep him as an example of what real courage was. Norman Booker was courage.